Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. We went recently to the Fancy Food Show, which is to me the most gluttonous thing I do every year. And one of the products that we did find, we asked them to draw. I love Mexican food. I love food in general. But anyway, he has some very interesting products, and Michael Berro, we invited him to come on and tell us more. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Don. Great to see you.
Okay, as we ask all our guests, Mike, first tell us a little bit about your personal background, then about your products and company, and finally a website where people can learn more.
Absolutely. Michael Berro, born and raised in New York, spent my first 14 years after college working at Harold Levinson Associates, one of the largest convenience store distributors in the country. While being there, I realized that a lot of the major snack brands wanted to kind of bypass distributors, put things on their own route trucks, show up at stores when it was convenient for them, and felt there was a better way to do things. Through that, the idea of Chipoys was born about 3.5 years ago. It's an authentic Mexican rolled tortilla chip made in Tijuana, Mexico, with a delicious artisanal recipe. Launched the company with the intention of really just targeting convenience stores and convenience store distributors that couldn't get some of the major snack brands. And now here we are a couple of years later, quickly found out that there's a major global appetite for a brand that offers better pricing, better terms, smaller box counts, goes through your distributor of choice, and then offers a full range of spices from our original with no spice at all the way to our fire red hot. So it's been a fun journey so far, and really appreciate you stopping by the booth and having us on the show.
Do you have a website people can learn more?
Sure, if you go to chipoys.com, there you'll see pictures of all the bags, ingredient breakdowns, product descriptions. You can check out our original with no heat, our chili limon, which is our sweet and spicy, our award-winning spicy ranch, which there's no chip like it anywhere in the world, and then our fire red hot as
Well,
well.
well, let's back up. First, what's the name of your products? And can you spell it out for our audience?
Sure. Product is called Chipoys. Website is chipoys.com, Chipoys.
Okay, now let's go back 100 yards and first talk about you decided to go into business yourself. You know, again, we're a show of entrepreneurs, so it must have been what made you decide to do? What was the major reason you decided to do it?
Yeah, great question. And entrepreneurship is certainly not for everyone. And I've had plenty of sleepless nights as a result of it. But, I kind of felt a loyalty to my old industry of convenience store distributors and convenience stores, and wanted to give them, a chip brand that will hopefully scale into multiple items and form factors that could allow them to make a bunch of money, and not be at the whim of when some of the larger snack companies decide to show up or do business with them at all.
Okay, well, let's back also let me make it clear. Do you also distribute or do you provide your products to distributors?
We only sell through distributors. So we manufacture in Tijuana, bring the product into our warehouse in San Diego, and then ship to distributors throughout the country from there.
Do you concentrate on areas with Hispanic populations or do you go all over the country?
We're all over. I mean, biggest emphasis is on some of the major cities. We're doing a huge distribution blitz through a large snack partner of ours in Metro New York and Chicago, having a lot of success in Texas. But we're also seeing the brand do great in rural areas in the Southeast and Midwest as well. So the great news about Chipoy's is everybody loves chips, loves chips. Everyone loves the crunch that comes with the rolled tortilla chips. So Chipoy's can be for everyone.
Well, people talk about chips, some chips as being detrimental to health because they're processed food. Um, uh, is your product more healthier, or how did you decide to make the composition of your product?
It's a great question, and giving the combination of the best price, taste, and health to the consumer is something that we work on every single day. So we do use fewer ingredients than a lot of the major national snack companies do, especially fewer chemicals. We're playing with some formulations right now that would remove the chemicals completely. We pack in more corn than most of the national brands do, even though it's more expensive to produce that way, and try to give a great experience to our millions of consumers around the world.
Well, I know enough to be dangerous, but I'll ask this question. Um, they say that the preservatives that you put in to extend shelf life is where the real problem comes in. Is that the case? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, so we do offer a longer shelf life than some of the other brands do. Some of that just comes from the more artisanal recipe. It's not from packing more chemicals into the chip and the right balance of, nitrogen in the bag without doing anything to distort the taste or quality of the product.
Hmm. Well, if I recall, PepsiCo has really de-emphasized soda to emphasize the chip the chip market, um, um, the chip like market. Are you seeing growth in your products because of
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. We doubled our business from 22 to 23, plan on doing it again next year, and we've seen huge growth in the category as
Hmm.
well.
Okay. Again, for our audience, your website, can you spell it?
CHIPOYS.com.
Now, let's talk about your factory in Mexico. People associate non-American factories with worry about cleanliness, etc. How do you deal with questions like that?
So we've got our own staff, including my co-founders, in the factory every single day, auditing, helping operate. We've gone through kosher, vegan, and halal certifications, which you cannot obtain without a really clean factory. To be honest with you, I think that's an unfair misnomer. There's a lot of amazing products made out of Mexico every single day in factories that I would be thrilled to consume products from.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad you offended. I'm playing devil's advocate. So,
No, not offended at all. Just, proudly making our chips out of Mexico, and would, tell all American consumers that you should feel comfortable buying products from there.
well, I just read recently in the Wall Street Journal that avocados come from most Americans consume avocados from one valley in Mexico, and they're suffering a blight. But um, so when we say vegan, what do you mean by vegan? And um, uh, would you consider your product vegan?
So our spicy ranch has a hint of milk to it, but our original fire red hot and chili limon are vegan certified, and you will start seeing that on our packaging soon.
Hmm. Okay, you started the company. Let's talk about financing. What did you? I'll start with a more basic question. What was the biggest obstacle to founding your company?
I think just nailing a formulation that we felt great about. Fortunately, with the experience that we have in the space and the initial commitments from distribution, we were able to raise money pretty quickly to support the growth of the brand. I think right now, with where interest rates are and some of the economic uncertainty, fundraising has been a challenge for everybody. And then you try to stretch a dollar however you can as a startup. Some of our packaging and marketing companies have waived fees and come in on our cap table Instead, you try to fit as many cases on a pallet as possible, work with your distribution and retail partners to try to balance, sales, margin, and profitability for everybody. But it's a challenge that we're working through every day, as I'm sure every startup is right now.
choose your co-founders?
So we had worked together in previous company. We were all exiting at around the same time. They had reached out to me and said, Mike, we know branding and we know a bunch of factories in Mexico. We know you know distribution. Do you want to do something together? And I said, let's find some delicious chips to sell. Let's start with a rolled tortilla chip. And to their credit, came up with an amazing recipe with the factories. And now here we are.
Well, what was the single most difficult thing you encountered starting up?
I'd say figuring out how to get the product off the shelf. We've done a great job of securing distribution, but as mentioned when we started this, we're competing against some of the biggest snack brands in the world for the consumers' attention. We've got a packaging refresh coming that we're really excited about, partnering with XN, who's got an incredible roster of gamers around the world to help step up brand awareness. And we're doing some photo shoots and putting some better content out there on social. So thrilled with our distribution so far, thrilled with our consumer base, but both can always get better.
Well, let's talk about something that's critical. To, uh, how, did, um, how did you decide your packaging?
So when we started doing some more sampling and focus groups, we realized that playing up the authentic Mexican heritage was something really important and something that not only Mexican Americans were looking for, but just consumers in general. So when you go on our website and follow us on social media, you'll see the new packaging, which is flowing through as we speak with the Aztec font on the bottom, the ombre, the new signature logo with the pepper underneath. So we've now got packaging that you really can't ignore on a
Hmm.
retail shelf, which we think is really going to help lift the brand.
What, where did you go for your designs and your packaging?
We worked with some agencies and then really did a lot of collaboration with our European partners at Chef Sam, who are, have a sales and marketing arm, really talented people on their roster. They gave us some great feedback, hooked us up with an agency, and that's where packaging 2.0 of Chipoys has been formed.
Are you going to Europe with your
We
product?
are, yes, and we're going to start producing in Europe in September. I was actually just in our factory last week.
Your factory are you going to export from Mexico to Europe?
We have been exporting from Mexico, and then starting in September, we're going to be producing in Spain.
Hmm. Uh, that's an interesting question. What do you look for when you develop uh, um, a factory in Spain? What do you look for? Uh, uh, Workers. What is it that made you decide on Spain?
So Spain found an awesome factory partner that's already doing 9 figures worth of chips every year that was excited about the process. So they had the infrastructure. They just needed our guidance on the unique equipment and formulation. That factory partner is also going to be a distribution partner of ours because they sell to 70,000 stores in Europe. So we've done some nice business in Europe already, but we're expecting to explode in Q4 and beyond once we start producing locally.
It seems you picked the right partner. How did you find them?
Through our JV partners at Chef Sam. They reach out to them. I'd love to sit here and take credit for it, Don, but this is a better to be lucky than good situation.
Well, where are you getting the money to finance the many small businesses? And I don't think you're a small business anymore. Um, uh, can you give us an idea of the range of your business right now and dollar volume?
Yeah, so we will be on an 8 figure run rate in the next couple of months. Fundraising has come from a lot of people that I've known from the past and their networks that they've reached out to that have, really been an extension of fundraising for us by encouraging their friends to come in. And now that we've gotten bigger, we're talking to some larger institutional investors as well.
Hmm. You know, I've seen you're really buttoned down. Um, I'm offering you a compliment because I've seldom interviewed someone so buttoned down. You know your product and your how things are coming. But now, what do you think is going to be your biggest problem going forward?
I think it's still some of the same. When you get bigger, some of the challenges don't change. So it's still going to be, balancing revenue and profitability with the large retailers, how we get off the shelf, especially as we do a migration into some of the largest grocers in the country. And then just making sure that with each new market we go into, whether it's a new channel domestically, a new region domestically, expanding internationally, that we've got the right custom marketing plan for each region. We want Chipoys to feel like it's your brand, regardless of who you are and where you are. And, as you said, time and money are both finite to get that done. So while we're making progress, still an enormous amount of work to do to get this brand where we feel it should be.
Well, let's go sideways and ask a question. You went to the fancy food show, which is the biggest show for. What did you hope to accomplish at the show, and would you say to someone just starting out? Should they be at such a show?
I think it all depends on where you are in your life cycle funding and stuff like that. To be honest with you, I appreciate the kind words, Don, but I don't necessarily feel buttoned up as a CEO every day. There's plenty of trade shows that I've done or slotting fees over the last 2 years that I wouldn't do again. So I would just make sure that you've got a plan and make sure that you're going to a trade show that your desired retail and distributor partner are attending. Fancy Food Show is a great show for us because we are a premium artisanal chip. We got to meet some awesome people like you in the media, some investor leads, and most importantly, talking to some huge grocery chains as a result of our presence at the show. But we've also attended shows where our core customer hasn't lived, and those are shows that we won't be doing again.
Well, do you think that someone coming into the food marketplace can attract people? Uh, are people open to new products? Do you think in the retail grocery area or uh, convenience store area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's not easy no matter who you are, even if you're a line extension from a major company, because resets only happen a couple times a year and shelf space is finite. But I think consumers are always looking for things that are new, different, and exciting. And I think stores are as well.
Hmm. If you had your druthers, is there anything you have done in the past to this company that you wish you had not done?
Yes, I would have passed on a bunch of slotting fees. I would have been more judicious on what trade shows that we attended. Probably would have done some of these sampling and focus groups a little bit earlier to get the feedback that we did on packaging, and then also would have prioritized when we saw this massive demand in Europe and the Middle East to probably focus on finding a factory 9 to 12 months earlier than we did. So companies not without bumps, not without rookie mistakes from yours truly, but we love the quality of our chip. We love the new packaging. We love the domestic and international partners that we've got in place. And we think your consumers are and your audience is going to start seeing a lot more of Chipoys in the back half of 24 and beyond.
Your website again for people who want to learn more?
Absolutely. CHIPOYS.com. Or if you want to email us, you can go to info@chipoys.com, and there's a decent chance that you'll get a response from me if you send a response, an email to that address.
You know, one thing that you said earlier, you did focus groups and research. Do you think it's critical to do research before you start your product?
I think it's important to do at least some form of research. So ours was a little bit more informal in the beginning of kind of passing it along to friends, potential investors, retailers, and distributors. But I think we would have reached out to the desired end consumer a little bit earlier if we could have done it all over again.
So, why do you say that?
No, again, just some of the feedback, especially from Mexican Americans. We haven't tweaked anything about the taste as a result of our focus groups, just more focus, on packaging that we've gotten.
Some people have resorted to star power to endorse a product. You haven't done that. Do you think it would have helped to have a star, even as an investor?
I think it's always great to have celebrities as long as it's the right one that comes across as authentic and is promoting a brand because they love it and that comes across their audience, not just promoting a brand because they're getting paid. And as we've gotten bigger, we are on the radar of some more celebrities and are having some conversations as we speak.
Hmm. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left. What would you like to say to our audience, leave our audience with?
Would love the audience to try the chip. Some of our major partners are on our website. We're also on TikTok Shop and Amazon, and just know that, this is a company that's young, hungry, looking to improve every single day. We've got some exciting new flavors in the pipeline that you're either going to see in limited time offers or mass distribution later this year and in 25 and beyond.
Hmm. Well, we'll give you a chance to say one last time your website.
Chipoys.com, CHIPOYS.
Well, on that note, we say, Michael Berro, thank you so much for, I think, a very illuminating time together. Thank you.
It was an honor, Don. Thank you so much for having me.